Thank you for watching Morning in the Mountains on Mountain Fun Life. Hi, I'm Frank Murphy, and today I get to speak to a good friend, a longtime friend, Carol McMahon, who is with the Sevierville Chamber of Commerce and is the coordinator for a fantastic festival, the Rose Glen Literary Festival, now in its 11th year?
That's correct. We're growing every year.
Now, you yourself are an author, historian, storyteller. I mean, we see you around Sevierville all the time. But going back, I guess, 11 years, how did you get started on this idea for the Rose Glen Literary Festival?
Well, actually, I went to the Chamber of Commerce CEO, Brenda McCroskey, who's my boss, and suggested that we have a literary festival, something that would attract a different clientele from what usually comes to special events here in Sevier County.
Yeah.
And she said, well, do you have anything in mind? And I told her this idea of the literary festival, and she said, well, as long as it doesn't cost any money, you're welcome to do it. So I was a big enough fool to take her up on it, and I got in touch with Walter State Community College, and we had the first one there.
And of course, it's grown to be big, and probably does cost a little bit of money now.
The fourth year, we had Dr. Bill Bass.
Yes.
And we realized then that we didn't have enough room, that we needed to move to a larger space.
Gotcha.
So we moved to the Sevierville Convention Center, and we've been there.
And Dr. Bass still comes every year to the
He
festival.
doesn't come every year, but he comes quite frequently.
And this year he's coming?
He's coming, yeah.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
He'll be there. He always does a good job. His friend Art Bohannon will be there with him as well.
Excellent. And they both have books, of course.
They both have books. Some of them, some of the settings are in Sevier County.
Yeah.
Of course, Art Bohannon is a native born and raised Sevier County.
Yeah.
So they're always very popular, and they're part of what I call our back by popular demand authors. Bill Landry's been coming for quite a few years as
from the
well.
Heartland series.
From the Heartland series, and he's always popular. And Sam Venable,
the News Sentinel columnist, who's got so many books.
And the first year that we had the festival, I knew I had to come up with a good keynote speaker that I could get for free.
Yeah.
And so I called on my good friend Stephen Lynn Bales from the Himes Nature Center, who had just written a book. Well, the book was about, more or less about geography of the East Tennessee area. And that's the first thing that my boss called me on. Is anyone going to come to hear someone talk about geography, really? And I said, trust me on this one. And she did, and he was a huge success. He has enough humor in his talk.
Good.
So he set the bar that first year.
And you continue that by having a great keynote speaker each year. And I'm looking on the website, you've got one again, of course, this year, which is coming up February 22nd, which is a Saturday at the Sevierville Convention Center. Who's the keynote?
Let me just say that she is following Robert Beatty, who wrote the Serafina series.
He was last year.
Who was there last year on the day of the floods.
Oh, right, because February.
In the middle of the luncheon, although we had our phones on silence, they all went off during his talk.
With the warning,
With the warning, but that just adds to the tradition.
Well, I hope you have drier weather this year.
Well, we're hoping
it's the same weekend, though, February 22nd.
It's always the fourth Saturday.
Well, tell us about this year's keynote.
Teresa Ann Fowler is coming this year, and we chose her for a couple of reasons. One, it seems we've had a series of men for our keynote speakers, and it was just time to have a woman, and the timing was good because this is the centennial of the 19th Amendment. End of women's
which has
suffrage.
A huge Tennessee link, of course. That deciding vote was cast in Tennessee.
So we wanted to find an author a female author who was well known, who had written about strong women. And I had read a couple of her work. The first book that I read was Z, the story of Zelda Fitzgerald, and it was a historical novel, and it was excellent, and it made the New York Times bestseller list. She turned right around and wrote one about Alva Vanderbilt Belmont.
Oh, that's interesting.
Who was a suffragette from way back, and one of the first women in high society to ever get a divorce, and she just checked all the boxes of a strong woman. And plus she's got Fowler has a brand new book that's coming out in March. We hoped it would be out in time for the festival, but it's not going to.
Well, I'm sure she'll have pre-orders.
Right, called A Good Neighborhood.
Excellent.
It's sort of changing her mode just a little bit. It's going to be focusing on racial relations in a southern city, and I've had the great honor of getting to read it a little early, and it's an excellent book.
Wow.
And so we're looking forward to having her for our luncheon speaker.
And that's Teresa
Ann Fowler.
Ann Fowler. Well done.
And
That's
the only thing that there's a cost for is the lunch, and it's well worth the price of the tickets. You get to hear this excellent speaker. You get a customized piece of pottery from pottery here in Pigeon Forge, and you also get your lunch for only $25. So that's a really good deal.
And is it best to order those in advance?
It is.
And that's the website?
At www.roseglenfestival.com.
Excellent. Well, Carol McMahon, congratulations on 11 years of a successful festival. I really appreciate
what
you do for the community. All right, the Rose Glen Literary Festival on Saturday, February 22nd. Get the tickets online for that luncheon, and then everything else you'll see that day is free at the Sevierville Convention Center. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're watching Morning in the Mountains. More of the show right after this.